So the 2026 Shohei Ohtani New Balance turfs are coming out soon. They look amazing, but should you buy them? This is my review of last season's turfs. And spoiler alert, I'm not a huge fan. All right, so in this review, we'll talk about how I've used these shoes, what I like about them, what I don't like about them, and things you should really be concerned about if you're considering shelling out $130 for them, and my overall recommendations. All right, so first, I took the plunge on these because I'm a content creator, I'm a coach, I'm gonna be hitting on camera, especially in my slow pitch softball channel. And so I want to make sure I had a shoe that I could hit with and look good on camera. And so usually I spend 60 or 70 bucks on shoes tops. I like design, but I try to find stuff on sale. I splurged on these and spent the 130, knowing that they would look good on camera. I like the high top. I think these are one of the best looking shoes on the market. Other than using them on video, I use these to give talks sometimes. So I wear these on stage when it's sort of a sporty kind of setting. I'll occasionally wear them to the gym, but very infrequently. So overall, these are kind of like a sports car that I don't take out of the shop that much. They have a specific use for me, which is being on camera, doing kind of stationary sports stuff, walking, and that's kind of it. I bought these in July of last year, and they've held up well, but I do have some durability concerns that I'll share in the dislike section, and I really don't like the performance and how this shoe feels for anything other than just basically standing still or walking, which we'll get to. All right, so things I like about the Shohei Ohtani New Balance turfs. Number one, they look amazing. I think these are the best looking turfs on the market. Cleats as well. I think these look phenomenal. Love what they did with these. I like the rubber toe box. There's a lot of rubber on the front, kind of has some weather resistance. However, the materials that they use in other places, like this fabric and this knit material, look, I know they need to keep the shoe cool, but when I wore these on dirt the first time, they looked absolutely terrible afterward. It took me 2 hours to clean them. And it made me question myself. I'm like, all right, dude, you bought these are called bisque colored, but I bought a white shoe. What am I going to expect? But I just think they should do a better job of making the materials fit the environment, where if you're going to wear these on the field, on actual dirt, they're going to look terrible. So just understand that if you want these to stay pristine, they've got to be indoor only shoes. Now, these have great traction. So the little nubs on the bottom are awesome. That's part of the reason I got these. These have a very wide base of support. They feel very flat. The sole is very thick. That's honestly both a pro and a con. But these give you a really good base, which I like because I have wide feet and I have kind of wobbly ankles. So I feel very stable in these shoes. These also have a very wide toe box, which if you have wide feet like I do, that's a big plus. I do find these uncomfortable at times, kind of through the middle. I've worn them on airplanes where my feet feel absolutely terrible. And so I don't really understand what about this that is. I think it's because it's kind of restrictive in some places in the center because of the shape of the sole. But overall, these give you a very good base of support if that's something that you're looking for, and they're wide to accommodate wide feet. All right, let's go to dislikes for the Shohei Ohtani turfs. My biggest one is these feel clunky, like I'm wearing bricks on the bottom of my feet. That's by far the biggest thing that you should know if you're gonna buy these or you're considering it. Now, when I run around and do sports, I want a shoe to feel like light and agile, like these are my running shoes. I could put these on and go run in all three dimensions. These shoes do not feel that way. They have a really good flat base of support. The sole is very thick. They're a little bit heavy, but these are good for just like hitting off the tee or hitting in the batter's box. If you got to take off and run around the bases, these are not great for that. You feel very clunky in these, in my experience. Like you just can't move very well because of like how wide and flat and kind of chonky they are. The other shoe in my collection that these feel like are these big, heavy winter boots. These boots are not meant to run around and change in three dimensions with. This shoe feels very similar to this shoe. And that's where I think New Balance really missed the mark. These are really stable. These are also really stable for just walking around the city when it snows. But this shoe feels like a boot. It feels like a clunky, flat, unwavering kind of boot. It does not feel like an agile, three-dimensional run around, chase a fly ball in the gap kind of shoe. So if you want something that you're actually going to like play softball with or play baseball with on turf, I think this is a really bad choice because you just don't move very well in these. At least that's how I felt. This is not their most agile model. If you just want something to hit in the cages with, where you feel really stable and you're not going to roll your ankles, these are a great choice. But they're also $130. So are you just going to use these just to hit off the tee with and then go put different shoes on to go run around the field and take ground balls and fly balls? I don't think you are. These are way too expensive to just have a very narrow use case. The other thing that was really disappointing is they're starting to tear on the inside, on the back of the heel cup on the inside. And that to me is just unacceptable for a shoe that I have not worn that much. I walk around in it, like I said. I do YouTube videos in them. I'm not going on runs with them. I'm not playing with these in softball games or baseball games. I'm just walking around, and that's pretty much it. For these to be tearing 5 months later on the inside, to me is just unacceptable for a shoe this expensive. Everything else is very durable. I mean, this is like built like a brick, like a tank, but I mean, these are going to be falling apart and the padding's going to be peeling out in a couple more months. So I'm pretty disappointed with that. And that's something you should know if you're considering buying these Ohtanis. So overall conclusions on the New Balance Ohtani turfs. So it looks like the 2026 model, which are gorgeous. Again, I love like the really dark navy with the red. It looks like they're basically the same shoe. I don't have intel on that, so don't quote me there. They look very similar. And if that's true, I think the big pros and cons are how these look. They're very stable. If you have wide feet or you have ankle rolling issues, these are very good, but they feel very clumsy. They feel like winter boots. They don't feel like agile athletic shoes. So that's the biggest thing you should take away. They've got great durability on the bottom. They've got great traction on the bottom. They look awesome. I love how these shoes look. They just don't perform in an athletic way for me. They're fine for hitting off the tee. What I wanted them for is great, but I'm pretty pissed, to be quite honest, that they're tearing on the inside, and I'm not happy about how difficult they are to clean. Now, again, that's part of the white color, so I probably shouldn't have expected any better, but I think they could have done a little bit better job with some of these fabrics that just seem to suck in dust and dirt and look pretty rough pretty quick. Because if you're buying, if you're buying a baseball turf, you expect to use it outside on the field. So I would love the New Balance engineers in the future to make some of the materials a little more durable when it comes to keeping, dust out and dirt out, and a little bit easier to clean. But overall, I mean, such a beautiful, well-made shoe. I love New Balance. I think they've done a great job in their baseball market. I've always been a big fan of them. I'm not real happy with what I've gotten with this shoe. And of course, I'm a huge fan of Shohei Ohtani. So I was happy to support him and the brand, but I'll run these until they fall apart. But will I be buying another pair? Not until they change the overall, design of the shoe to make it feel more athletic. Like I can do pretty much anything I want. Go play Frisbee and run around in this shoe, which is just not the case in this current model. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you here in the next video.